Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you simply weren't taken seriously? You said all the right things, but your opinions were subtly brushed off, or your presence was just ignored. Most people assume that commanding respect means you need to be the loudest person in the room, or put on some kind of aggressive, dominating persona, but respect is deeply rooted in our biology. Studies show that people with higher social status generally live longer and remain healthier, proving that hierarchy affects us at a cellular level. Because where we stand is so vital to our health, the human brain views status as a resource as real as oxygen. Because it is so crucial to our survival, our brains are highly tuned to detect it. But we don't do this by evaluating titles or conscious words. This animated diagram illustrates how our brains actually act as pattern recognizers. They constantly search for inconsistencies between the smooth data stream of the confident words you are saying and the erratic, jagged physical signals your body is displaying. Grand gestures and loud speeches are conscious choices, but these micro-behaviors are uncontrollable leaks. They bypass our conscious filters, and our social radar processes these physical leaks as your true reality, broadcasting low status before you even speak. Mastering your social value does not require memorizing new conversation scripts. It requires sealing 3 unconscious physical leaks so your body finally aligns with your words. The first leak destroying your confidence is the apology reflex. Think about how often you say you are sorry for a long text or sorry for having an opinion. Every time you do this, you are subconsciously announcing to the world that your presence is a burden. When you apologize for simply existing, your body follows suit. You shrink down, roll your shoulders forward, and pull your arms in tightly, physically compressing yourself to broadcast submission to everyone around you. Culture conditions us to be polite, to smooth over interactions, but there is a massive difference between genuine politeness and acting like a doormat. When you over-defer to dominant people in a room, scanning for their approval, you give away your power and make yourself incredibly easy to control. To fix this, you need to rewire your interactions by replacing unnecessary apologies with gratitude. Instead of saying, "Sorry for the delay," shift your energy and say, "Thanks for your patience." It maintains politeness but projects a high-status energy. Next, fix your physical presence by keeping an open chest with your arms relaxed at your sides. And start setting actual boundaries. Turn down one minor request this week. When you say no sometimes, your yes actually carries weight. By deliberately occupying natural physical space and setting these boundaries, you shift your perceived role from the supporting cast to a leading presence. The second habit that completely tanks your authority is the bobblehead nod. You sit there nodding incredibly fast the entire time another person speaks, often driven by a desperate anxiety for their approval. You might feel like a great listener, but excessive agreement, faked smiles, and changing your opinions to match the room make you look like a subordinate applicant, begging for permission to be there. People can smell the inauthenticity. To eliminate this, you must shift to status parity alignment. This diagram shows 2 nodes in a conversation. Instead of bouncing erratically to please the other person, the stable node stays anchored. You act as an equal peer by keeping your head completely still. When you acknowledge a complex point, utilize one deliberate downward head tilt. This signals you are anchored as an equal. You also need to practice strategic disagreement. If you respectfully offer a different angle, saying something like, "I see your point. Here is another angle," without any defensive physical movement, that stillness forces the other person to explain themselves, transferring authority to you. Real leaders do not command respect through total compliance. They earn it by bringing a grounded, unique perspective that forces others to rise to their level of stillness. The third and perhaps most destructive habit is the inability to tolerate silence. If a gap occurs in a conversation, and you rush to fill it with forced humor or unprompted explanations, you are screaming a deep need for validation. This urge to rush is almost always accompanied by the nervous fidget, tapping hands or adjusting clothes. Here is what happens biologically: high frequency, chaotic visual waves from your nervous movements enter the observer's brain, causing their central amygdala to pulse in alarm, interpreting your behavior as extreme unreliability. High-status individuals do the exact opposite. They slow down under pressure. They move less and deliberately occupy the silence, calming the observer's biological alarm system. To build this trait, master the powerful pause. When you are asked a tough question, break eye contact and look away for 2 to 4 full seconds. This proves you are building a real, time solution in your head, not anxiously reciting a memorized line. Only look back at them when you say the very first word of your answer. Maintaining steady eye contact for about 60 to 70% of a conversation, paired with absolute physical stillness, projects a level of composure that commands the room without being aggressive. Someone who can comfortably hold the silence sends the ultimate magnetic message. They are completely secure in their own space, and they do not need to desperately convince anyone of their value. These low-status micro-signals, over-apologizing, the excessive nodding, and nervous fidgeting, are not permanent personality flaws. They are completely natural, uncalibrated human reactions to anxiety and pressure. Because they are merely habits, they can be deliberately overwritten. By consciously exposing yourself to higher, pressure social environments and forcing your body to remain calm, you forge a new behavioral baseline. As you align these physical micro-signals, holding eye contact, pausing, swapping apologies for thanks, your internal state will begin to match your outward projection. Pick just one of these 3 subtle habits to actively work on tomorrow. Observe how others begin to yield the floor and wait for your input. True status is rarely announced with words. It is a silent, unshakable baseline, perceived by the world long before you even open your mouth. If you found value in this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 subtle habits do you catch yourself doing the most when you feel nervous? Let me know down in the comments.